you remember the last time you truly connected with someone? In a world where connection is sold as a product, empathy has turned into a camouflaged trap. Have you ever considered that perhaps caring is, in fact, a vulnerability disguised as strength? Deep down, many drown in superficial relationships, seeking validation in their interactions, while emotional emptiness grows like a shadow. Everyone wants to believe in promises of support and understanding, but what happens when that support is fleeting? When the connection narrows down to a thin thread about to snap? Imagine an artist painting a magnificent portrait, but as you step back, you realize the canvas is merely cardboard. There's no depth, no realism. In the same way, many relationships today are adorned with smiles and compliments, but if you look closely, they are nothing more than sketches. Between text messages and quick meetups, promises of support fade away as soon as the spotlight dims. Who is really there when the daylight fades? The trap is seductive. When you open up, you expect to be heard. But what if your words fall into a bottomless pit? What if the people you believe to be your allies are, in fact, mere shadows during your darkest hours? Being vulnerable is an act of courage, but it's important to know that this courage can be turned into a weapon against you. Think of times when trust was treacherous, that unkept promise of "I will be here" while loneliness spread. Caring then becomes a burden, not a light. And here lies the relentless question you need to face. Do you really care? Or are you simply being swept along by the tide of social expectations? The truth is that support is not a burden you should carry endlessly. To protect yourself, you first must recognize your own fragility. Becoming skeptical of your desire for connection is the first step. Each time you place your hope in others, remember, they can be just as human as you. They can make mistakes. Can I ask you something? What if you stopped caring so deeply? What would happen to your relationships? That's your reflection. In a world where everyone strives to create bonds, are you simply intensifying your emotional dependence? So before we continue, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell, but only if you really enjoy what I'm doing here. I'm preparing a series of videos specifically to guide you on your journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Now that that's done, let's continue. You're mistaken if you think affection is always pure. There's a subtle yet devastating dynamic that turns care into control. Anyone can wield sweet words as weapons. Few realize that loyalty in relationships is often just a facade. What you consider genuine connection? It could merely be the echo of a manipulative voice, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The first truth is that emotions serve as instruments. When someone approaches you with smiles and promises, you should question, what is the true intent behind that warmth? A seemingly supportive friend may be feeding off your insecurity. You let her in, and she turns your fragility into power. This is how many manipulators operate, like suckers, draining the confidence and self-esteem from others. Have you ever stopped to think whether your vulnerability is causing pain instead of healing? That other people might be piling their burdens onto you while disguising their own flaws? The second truth is that intimacy leads to expectation. When relationships turn into a game, those who invest emotion at the table later find themselves at a disadvantage. Opening up becomes a one-way street. This dependence can generate a poisonous certainty. I trusted you, so you must belong to me. But loyalty is a burden, and no relationship is unbreakable. How do you handle promises that vanish when you need them most? Words can fade away while pain lingers. And who are you when the support you were counting on turns out to be nothing but an empty echo? Third truth, love can be inhospitable. When someone claims to have your best interests at heart, don't be fooled. That statement can be a fine line between altruism and control. Closeness breeds emotional dependence, and it's at this moment that many become prisoners without realizing it. If you've ever experienced invisible betrayal, you know that what appears as affection can be a cloak that hides treachery. When the next step is fueled by fear of rejection, you find yourself facing a cruel dynamic. True freedom may come from severing those ties. So, what path should you take? Examine relationships without the idealized lens of emotional connection. Question the nature of what you're feeling. Take each word, each gesture, and see if you're not feeding into an emotional trap. Because when it comes to relationships, the true strategy is to maintain your strength, not to become merely a pawn in a game you don't understand. Do you think you can read human intentions? That's a mistake. What you consider self-control is often just a disguised dance. Have you noticed how emotions are skillfully manipulated, like pieces on a chessboard? Chakras don't activate by chance. They vibrate at the frequency of others' needs. It's the moment when vulnerability turns into a weapon, and those who fail to realize it are just pawns in this game. Look around you. How many times have you been the archetype of manipulation, calibrating every word and gesture to ensure validation and affection? Self-reflection is necessary. Do you believe your intentions are pure? In this theater of interactions, most get caught in their own trap. The harsh truth is that we're all actors, and many of us forget who we really are in the act. Consider your own mask. Yes, you wear one every day. And what happens when it starts to wear thin? Fragility emerges. Thus, you become a target. In the pursuit of connection, emotional sacrifice seems like the required payment. Now think of someone who approaches you using promises wrapped in sweetness. But often that sweetness is poison. You let her in, you open your soul, and that's where the real irony lies. The vulnerability you think you're offering might be the control they are stealing. Have you ever felt drained after a conversation that should have been a relief? It doesn't happen by chance. It's emotional exhaustion, the price of your affection being converted into currency of control. Expectation breeds dependence, and this dependence, believe me, can be a silent prison. Have you noticed how giving everything to someone can make yourself feel more fragile, more subject to emotional whims? The loyalty you thought was a burden actually becomes invisible chains that tighten every time you open up. What if I told you there is power in being enigmatic? Have you ever tried to deconstruct the atmosphere around you? By acting as an enigma to others, you provoke an obsession that elevates your position. People begin to orbit around your uncertainty. The duality of being accessible yet distant is the key. There, in the empty space between dialogues, resides the domain. Realize, manipulation is not the property of others. You are the artist, shaping experiences, leaving an indelible mark on others' psyche. So why not play this game with mastery? Change the narrative, reveal yourself, and at the same time, preserve the mystery. Each unsaid word can be a trap. Each lost gaze can be an invitation for more. Every interaction is an opportunity to reconfigure the dynamic, but that only happens if you understand that true strength comes from subtlety. Now, you are in control. Because at the end of the day, the only manipulation you should confront is the one we do to ourselves. You transform empty space into power, turning uncertainty into a weapon. And this is the true mastery of human connection. Silence is an art that few master. You should understand that your power doesn't just lie in not speaking. It's about becoming an enigma, a shadow that challenges the understanding of others. In a noisy world where egos unravel in empty words, the true strategy is strategic indifference, the ability to remain silent and observe while others expose themselves. Think about it. When you speak, you reveal yourself. Every word is a clue to be analyzed, every statement a disguised vulnerability. Silence, on the other hand, is a fortress. It drowns out the senseless screams that surround your mind and gives you the capacity to see without being seen. A master of the art of control does exactly this. He observes while others wear themselves down. There is raw strength in stillness. It's in that space, that pause between sounds, that your dominion is found. Reflect on this. Imagine entering a place where everyone is discussing furiously. You position yourself in a corner, indifferent. They talk, they act, and you simply watch. In the blink of an eye, you become the epicenter of curiosity. They talk more to you, trying to decipher your neutral expression while you hold the cards. It's in that moment that the game changes. You don't need to intervene. The doubts you planted begin to grow. What is he thinking? What does he know that I don't? Just that is enough for you to become the spectator of their despair. And when you finally decide to break the silence, each sentence is a surgical strike. You choose exactly what to say and when to say it. It's a dance. You control the flow of conversation by determining when to step in or step back. When you speak, everyone quiets down. They have to listen. The art of power is not in being the most eloquent, but in being the most silent. That is the key to control. Each pause is a tactic, a strategic move. So, unlock your own power. Learn to control what others see and feel. You don't need to be the center of attention. Instead, become the enigma everyone wants to decipher. Each interaction turns into an opportunity to leverage ambiguity to your advantage. You remain in a space where decisions are made not by noise, but by echoes of your presence. Breathe. Now think. Every time you withdraw while others speak, you maintain control. Silence is not weakness, it is a realm of power. And those who allow themselves to remain silent observe a world unfolding without them having to do anything. Let that resonate. Do you think indifference is a weakness? That's a mistake. In the game of relationships, acting as if you don't care is a powerful strategy. When you show disinterest, others become unbalanced. They crave your attention, your acknowledgement. And when you don't give it, they start to wonder, what does he know that I don't? That doubt becomes a force and you become the center of their emotional gravity. If you truly want to manipulate, start with silence. Your presence should be a mystery, not an answer. When someone tries to connect with you, avoid fully giving in. Offer them a fragment, then switch to observation mode. Become the blank canvas onto which others project their insecurities. That is the essence of power. People reacting to you while you remain unshakable. Consider an artist who only sketches an image. The details are left open, generating curiosity that intrigues. Now imagine that this image is you. You don't need to show your true self. Let others complete the painting with their expectations and fears. This brings them closer, but it also makes them vulnerable. You gain control when they reveal their weaknesses while trying to understand who you truly are. And when you finally decide to act, make sure you do so decisively. When someone expects interaction, a gesture of affection, surprise them with a retreat. Wait. Instead of filling the silence, observe. Their reactions, frustrations, and insecurities scream for validation. Have you ever felt this? The internal pressure that makes others lay bare their hearts? That's where your strength lies. Being indifferent is an art. You should never commit yourself so much that you become predictable. What matters is not what you feel, but how others feel your absence. In the lack of your presence, doubts multiply. They don't just desire your company, they need the uncertainty you create. And that need, it's a double-edged sword, a silent power. Now think of a time when you showed too much affection. What happened? Did you feel stronger or weaker? If you let your emotions take control, you might have revealed more than you should have. The game is about emotional control, and those who give in too much ultimately lose. Use this to your advantage. When necessary, reveal calculated weaknesses, but never express vulnerability without purpose. A strategic crack in your facade can keep them curious and engaged. That's the key. You shouldn't be an idealistic romantic, but a strategist who knows when and how to leave others at the mercy of their own emotions. And when you finally decide to expose yourself, do it subtly, a provocative statement, an unexpected confession. Leave a question hanging in the air. Why did he say that? What else is he hiding? Because true power isn't in full exposure. It's in creating a path of questions and inferences. And in the end, you must remain an enigma, intriguing and irresistible. Ultimately, in the power game, true strength lies in the possibility of choice. It's not about caring, it's about calculating every move, every word, every silence. Remember, those who open up emotionally hand their weapon to the opponent, so stay in the eye of the storm, acting strategically. Because it's in that balance, between being and not being, that you discover real mastery. Withdrawing can be more powerful than acting. In a world filled with voices, being the silence is a strategic act. You've recalled a time when you felt exhausted, haven't you? The endless conversations, the empty exchanges. This is how many operate, caught in self-assertion, not realizing that true strength lies in absence. Picture a fighter who, instead of entering the ring shouting, remains observant. He waits, sees the punches, analyzes the movements. Silence is a form of resistance. Have you thought about what happens when you step back, when you choose not to respond? The space created says much more than words. When confusion sets in, you take control effortlessly. People begin to ask, what is he thinking? What's hidden behind your calm? You transform into an enigma. Sometimes it's necessary to withdraw to understand yourself, to unmask what's around you. True growth, self-discovery, doesn't come from agitation, but from reflection. Consider the power of being present yet distant. By protecting yourself, you observe emotional games with the clarity of a spectator. Others, busy trying to prove their worth, become predictable. You don't need to expose yourself. You can simply remain silent and watch the dramas unfold. And on that stage where everyone struggles for validation, you see how despair emerges when they don't receive the expected response. Each unfulfilled expectation turns into frustration. Have you noticed this? That's why indifference is a weapon. What many perceive as weakness, you turn into strength. The act of retreating, of silencing oneself, is a strategy of control. You're not escaping, you're preparing. The absence you create generates a dependency. They don't know how to act, how to behave without your presence. It's a game. Those who withdraw win, because it forces others to reveal their vulnerabilities. In this game of emotional manipulation, silence is revealing. When you speak, you expose your intentions and become vulnerable. But when you remain silent, you allow the other person to reveal their cards. Every unspoken interaction becomes a fertile ground for curiosity, doubt, and eventually, control. You don't need to shout for attention. You can simply watch them unravel in their own insecurities. The knowledge you accumulate while they reveal themselves is immeasurable power. So, do you accept yourself as invisible? As the one who observes, who changes the dynamic without being noticed? Each shadow you cast disturbs, while the light you refrain from shining becomes the essence of your control. True mastery isn't about being seen, but about being felt. So go ahead, stay in the shadows. The game lies in your silence. Imagine you're a warrior. Not one clad in armor and brandishing swords, but a warrior of emotions and perceptions. The battle isn't visible. It's deep within you. Your greatest enemy? The belief that you are powerless. Many don't realize they have the power to shape their narratives, to rewrite their stories. You'd be surprised at the latent strength you possess. If you pause for a moment, reflecting on the challenges you've faced, you'll quickly see that each was a training ground for your true self. Transformation begins when you recognize your own fragility. Just as a sword must pass through fire to be tempered, your weaknesses can become your most valuable allies. Have you ever felt that? That vulnerability that rises in unexpected moments, like a friend who, in your hardest hours, becomes a vital support, only to later reveal their own fragility? This experience shapes your resilience. Instead of fearing it, use it. Make it your armor. Resilience is a silent strength. Why is it so easy to lose oneself in the frantic rhythm of others' expectations? Because in the quest for approval, many become shadows of themselves. Ask yourself, are you living for you or for others? Putting an end to external expectations is a crucial step. Allow yourself to break free from the cycle of seeking validation. Value your path, your mistakes, your achievements. Self-awareness isn't a destination. It's a journey. And this journey requires courage. The courage to be challenged and to challenge yourself. Become skeptical as you view the world. Experience has given you discernment. Remember the unfulfilled promises, the hopes you let others plant in your mind that were later yanked away with disdain. Being brave isn't just about opening up. It's doing so with the awareness that you can be hurt. Every warrior has a code. Yours should be honesty with yourself. Recognize that vulnerability is just part of the equation. It's not weakness. It's an opportunity to strengthen your internal fortress. Don't let the perception of what others expect from you dictate who you are. Take control. Rewrite your narrative with clarity and purpose. Finally, allow yourself a moment to reflect. Look back at your past and see how your battles have shaped your character. Now, transform that energy into something powerful. The path of metamorphosis is long, but your essence is already a force that can manifest. The choice is in your hands. Stand firm. After all, true victory begins from within. Real mastery doesn't belong to those who shout the loudest, but to those who remain silent, observing while others wear themselves out in the pursuit of validation. Modern life turns noise into currency, while depth gets lost amid likes and comments. While many drown in constant self-promotion, silent autonomy reveals itself as true power. Examine your interactions. How many times have you found yourself playing the role of a spectator amid empty conversations, words slipping away like water through your fingers? What do you do when promises dissolve and expectation turns into disillusionment? Think about this. Indifference can be your armor. When you choose not to care, you not only protect yourself, you challenge others to confront their own insecurities. An authentic connection can be a disguised illusion, and from the moment you decide not to feed that need, the relationship transforms. Yes, silence is power. He transforms the ordinary into praise, the mundane into a source of speculation. His gestures, rarely revealed, become mysteries to be observed. In his presence, people feel the need to justify their actions. Every silence he holds is a strategic choice. They begin to wonder, what is he thinking? Why hasn't he spoken again? That doubt turns into a necessity. And so when you finally decide to express yourself, your words become gold. A single, necessary move to establish the dominance that silence has cultivated. If you want to manipulate, start with withdrawal. Don't say goodbye with fanfare. Be present, but not available. Observe. Real power doesn't lie in being noticed. It lies in being felt. Your value is revealed through absence. Whatever you do, do it at the right time, and do it with intention. Have you ever felt that someone approached you only to explore your fragility? That's human. But remember, vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a tactic. Use it to your advantage. Make an impact without exposing yourself. Strength reveals itself in controlling the narrative. Power is discreet and relentless, a sharp whisper amidst the clamor. In a world that marvels at the noise of success, true greatness lies in silent autonomy. It doesn't require shouting. Your presence echoes. Don't worry about proving who you are. Your essence will be evident when you are an enigma, not an open book. And remember, don't let the desire to be accepted or understood overshadow your true potential. Silence is your ally. Indifference is your weapon. Embrace it. Do you think indifference is a weakness? That's a mistake. When you act as if you don't care, you're arming yourself for control. In emotional battles, indifference is your shield. Vulnerability can be manipulated. Indifference cannot. Reflect on this. How many times have you opened up and felt exposed? With every confession, every moment of fragility, you carry more weight. This isn't authenticity. It's an emotional roulette. Each revelation becomes a chance for someone to use it against you. True freedom lies in the choice not to expose your innermost self. Silence becomes your ally. Using silence as an emotional barrier is a strategic move. It keeps others at bay. Now imagine watching a scene unfold during a conflict. In the heat of the moment, someone raises their voice. You listen, but you don't react. Others speak, expressing their opinions. You remain unyielding. What happens? The intensity heightens. They expose themselves. Their weaknesses are revealed, and you, always in control, watch everything from your corner. Everyone around you begins to wear themselves down, seeking the recognition that you, subtly, withheld. When you turn expectation into indifference, you make others question themselves. They become dependent on your approval. It's in that dependence that you find your power. When you do not care, they exert themselves. When you withdraw, their need for you becomes unbearable. Look at the relationships you cultivate. Do you see yourself as the emotional anchor or the source of energy? With every weakness you show, they feel freer to manipulate. Now imagine a scenario where you flip this. Instead of being the exposed friend, be the enigma. Cultivate mysteries. With every action, promote silence as your response. Rather than opening up, create questions in the air. When you become the object of speculation, People invest energy in understanding you, and in the process you take away their control. This is the harsh truth. Those who care too much become vulnerable. The key lies in recognizing this dynamic. Self-awareness is your greatest shield. Freedom comes when you understand that indifference is not something to destroy, but something to cultivate. The power lies in the realization that every step forward must be calculated, not rushed. Self-esteem isn't in emotional confidence. It's in the ability to manipulate the perception of those around you. You are the archetype of indirect control. If the game is about emotional dominance, your greatest trump card is being the enigma, the distant one. Provoking curiosity while keeping your distance, because in the end, true strength lies in what you keep hidden. Indifference is your greatest ally. When you act indifferent, you truly control not just your own emotions, but also the emotions of the world around you.